Welcome, focused learners, to another explainer. Let me ask you something right out of the gate. What if I told you that the difference between a good software engineer and a true 10x engineer in 2026 literally has nothing to do with raw coding speed? It's not about your years of experience, and honestly, it's not even about the programming language you use. The real secret? It's mastering the AI tools sitting right under your nose. Right now, as we speak, developers around the world are shipping production-level code in half the time, they're debugging in minutes instead of agonizing hours, and they're building full-stack applications with almost zero friction. But here's the crazy part. Most engineers are still not using these tools properly. Some don't even know half of them exist. So today, we're going to break down the exact 5 AI tools that will multiply your productivity and make you insanely efficient.
So we really have to ask ourselves this core question. What makes a 10x engineer in 2026? Because, let's face it, the landscape is shifting incredibly fast. Just a few years ago, being a top-tier developer meant knowing syntax inside and out, memorizing these massively complex frameworks, writing literally every line of code by hand, and then spending, half your week just debugging. But AI has fundamentally changed the game. Today's absolute best engineers, they aren't the ones writing every single line themselves. They are the ones using AI to accelerate their development, automate the boring, repetitive stuff, and really focus their actual human brain power exclusively on high-level architecture and complex problem solving.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at a complete transition away from the old way, which is heavy on memorization and manual labor, straight into the 2026 way of AI acceleration. You really need to start treating AI tools as your second brain. But there is a massive catch here that traps so many developers. Most people fall into one of two dangerous extremes. Either they overuse AI to the point where they become completely dependent and their actual underlying skills start to rot, or they absolutely refuse to use it out of pride, and they just completely fall behind. The real skill, that true 10x differentiator, is knowing exactly which tools to use and how to orchestrate them together.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the new mindset. 2, architecting with AI. 3, accelerating coding. 4, scaling and refactoring. 5, balancing speed and security. And finally, number 6, your next steps.
Section 1. The new engineering mindset. Avoid the extremes. Moving right along to Section 2. Architecting with AI. Treat ChatGPT as your senior architect. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the scope of what you can achieve before you even touch your keyboard to code. Look, almost everyone knows about ChatGPT, but to use it like a senior architect, you have to think bigger. Let's say you want to build a highly scalable food delivery system, right? Something like FoodPanda. Instead of just guessing at the architecture, you ask an advanced model like GPT-4 or GPT-5 to build you a blueprint. You ask for a microservices breakdown, the database design, the API gateway structure, the payment flow, and a complete scaling strategy. It can convert your raw ideas into a full system blueprint before you write a single line. But, and this is a big but, don't trust it blindly. You still have to validate those APIs, check the edge cases, and ensure the security practices are sound. Have it break the design into modules, review them, and then move to implementation.
Section 3, accelerating coding speed. Building the boilerplate.
So, once you have that blueprint, it's time to build. Enter GitHub Copilot, your AI pair programmer that lives right inside your IDE. And this is where we hit that magic number, 10. This gives you that massive 10x productivity we keep talking about. Imagine you're building a Spring Boot backend. Normally, you'd have to manually write out the controllers, the service layer, the repositories, deal with all the DTOs, set up the exception handling. It's exhausting. Now, you literally just write a comment that says something like, create a REST API for user authentication using JWT, and Copilot just generates it. The security configs, the token utilities, the boilerplate validations, boom, done. It takes away so much mental load. When you combine ChatGPT's planning with Copilot's implementation, you aren't just coding anymore, you're directing. You treat Copilot like a wildly fast but maybe slightly junior developer. You guide it, review its output, and watch your velocity multiply by 10.
And this brilliantly illustrates that you don't actually need a massive budget to achieve this kind of speed. GitHub Copilot is great. It's the paid industry standard. But Codium is the free AI alternative on steroids. If you're a student, maybe a startup founder, or an open source contributor, and you just can't justify paying for Copilot right now, Codium is an absolute game changer. It gives you this incredibly fast, multi-language, autocomplete engine, and it is completely free. It really proves that being a 10x developer isn't about throwing money at expensive tools. It's all about your strategy.
Section 4. Scaling and Refactoring. The Cursor AI Paradigm Shift.
So, what happens when your project gets way too big for a tool like Copilot to handle? That's where Cursor comes in, and it is a massive shift. Cursor is a fully AI-powered code editor built on top of VS Code. It doesn't just suggest your next line, it actually understands your entire codebase. It's built for system-level thinking. Imagine you've inherited this incredibly messy legacy Spring Boot project. With Cursor, you can literally ask it to refactor this project into clean architecture with a service repository pattern. And in one smooth, continuous flow, it restructures your packages, updates your dependencies, refactors your methods, and magically fixes all those annoying naming consistencies across dozens of files. You can highlight a block of code, ask it to make it production ready, and get instant multi-file feedback. It basically turns you into a senior engineer operating at lightning speed.
Which brings us to Section 5. Balancing speed and security. The reality check. Okay, we need to take a serious pause here. Because when you are using ChatGPT to plan, Copilot to code, and Cursor to refactor entire code bases in mere seconds, your development speed goes through the roof. But that rapid velocity introduces severe, and honestly, sometimes catastrophic vulnerability risks. Read this with me. You can write perfect code, but still ship insecure applications. It's a fundamental truth. There's this super dangerous myth out there that security is only for DevOps. No, absolutely not. Every single developer is responsible for security. Because if you accidentally use an outdated dependency that your AI generated and you ship that to production, that breach is entirely on you. And that is exactly where Sneak AI enters the picture, acting as an AI-powered security scanner that spots these vulnerabilities on the fly.
So the crucial point is how these tools fit together. Let's map out this 2026 development lifecycle and see how speed perfectly contrasts with security. Look at the table here. During the planning phase with ChatGPT or prototyping with Copilot and Codium, your primary vector is speed, right? You're moving fast. Then you bring in Cursor AI for refactoring, and again, you are pushing massive speed. But then we have Snick AI. Snick acts as this essential, absolutely non-negotiable security counterweight. Its ideal stage is auditing, and its sole focus is keeping you secure. Basically, Snick AI stands guard to make sure that your incredibly fast code is also incredibly safe code.
Section 6. Your next steps. Avoiding the old workflow. Let's move to this and see how it builds into some actionable advice. Here is the harsh truth, folks. Knowing about these 5 tools means absolutely nothing if you don't actually use them. A lot of developers are going to watch an explainer like this, they'll feel this brief little surge of motivation, and then they'll just go right back to their old, comfortable manual coding workflows tomorrow. Do not be that developer. To stop you from falling back into those old habits, I'm giving you a strict 3-step action plan. Step 1. Pick one tool from this list today. Seriously, just one. You don't need to learn them all at once. Step 2. Integrate it into your workflow. Go install the extensions, set up the account, whatever it takes. Step 3. Build something with it in the next 24 hours. Force yourself to push through the initial friction of learning the new tool until it starts to feel like second nature. Because if you don't, you are leaving a massive amount of productivity just sitting right there on the table.
Which leaves us with one final provocative question. Which AI tool will you master today? Are you going to start architecting with ChatGPT? Maybe write some boilerplate with Copilot or Codium? Are you going to tackle refactoring with Cursor? Or start locking down your code base with Snick? The 10x developers of 2026 are already making their choice. I highly encourage you to dive in, balance that incredible speed with rock-solid security, and completely transform the way you build software. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, Focused Learners. Now get out there and start building.